Normally, the responsibility for keeping a check on background radiation lies with the National Radiological Protection Board, the NRPB. But last April, a school teacher in Yorkshire decided to take nobody's word for it.
Good evening. The Soviet Union admitted this evening that there's been an accident at one of its nuclear power stations, and it said there'd been casualties. The accident happened at Chernobyl in the Ukraine. It sent a wave of radiation across Scandinavia, which was recorded several hours before the Soviets admitted that something had happened.
Information from the authorities was rather confused. So here at Ackworth School, near Pontefract in Yorkshire, they decided to check the levels of radiation in the atmosphere themselves. A few hours after hearing the news of the explosion, Deputy Head of Physics Tom Bootyman set up the school's equipment. It consisted of a Geiger-Müller tube to detect radiation, an electronic counter to measure the output from the tube, and a new device called a Vela. This has a memory, and Tom hoped to use it to record the actual rise in the level of radiation if it occurred. Tom Bootyman also had a special interest because he happens to be learning Russian.
This is Wednesday's edition of Pravda after it actually exploded on the Saturday. And you might have expected something on the front page by now. Where you actually find it, tucked away at the bottom of page 2 here, you've got some news from the Soviet ministries. And altogether there are 6 items of news in here. And one bit here, it says that there's been some sort of explosion at the Chernobyl atom electric plant, which is located about 130 kilometres northwest of Kiev.
The count rate at Ackworth remained normal until a week after the accident. On Saturday, May the 3rd, it started to show a marked increase.
We thought we might have changed the controls, adjusted the power supply slightly, knocked it unintentionally, but no, there it was. So we left it running over until Sunday, which was the 4th of May. Transferred that to the computer, printed it out, and there was no doubt that there'd been a significant rise in the level of radiation. We had great faith in our results. We didn't check with anyone. We just telephoned the Yorkshire Post, and we had a photograph on the back page on Wednesday morning.
The journalists were interested immediately in the only independent source of information in the area, and somewhat surprised to discover that an ordinary secondary school had the equipment necessary to monitor radioactivity. After all the publicity, Grenville Needham decided to see how their results compared with those of the professionals, the NRPB.
I asked them what sort of rise they'd had, and they said, yes, we had a rise of about 25%. I said mine was only 15%, and they said, the difference? Well, your Geiger-Müller tube was in a window, we monitor near to the ground. The radiation, the radioisotopes, is brought down in the rain, it lies on the ground, and so we pick up the radiation there.
2 weeks later, Grenville Needham obtained a copy of the NRPB's published results. These showed a rise not of 25%, as they had told him, but of 125%.
So I thought I'd better go back to them. Phoned them up again, checked, and they said, no, our rise wasn't 25%. It was 125 near enough. Somebody had obviously made a mistake. They were under a great deal of pressure there. I checked on the way they took their results. All they did was put their Geiger-Müller tube and a rate meter on a table outside. They didn't monitor day and night. They just went out with a pencil and paper and wrote down every now and again what the level of radiation was.
So, had the NRPB been monitoring at the time the rise occurred?
No, it rained, and they'd taken the equipment inside to stop it getting wet. Looking back, we still find it rather difficult to believe that we are the only people around here who are monitoring and who have a record of the level of radiation.